to everybody. So we have 9 people. There should be, I think, 5 or 6 more coming in. So anybody have any questions before we officially start?
No, you already answered my questions in the email. So I'm good.
Now, I have a question for everybody. Well, first of all, does everybody see all 9 people?
Yeah.
I see everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have
Because
6
all
people with the middle
machines
arrow.
are, all ways of connecting are different. So different people see different things. It's at a different quality level. Hey, Colleen.
Hi.
So nice to see you.
Oh, it is so nice to see you.
Um,
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. All things considered, I'm doing terrifically well. How about you and your family?
Same.
Same.
You know. Hi, everybody. I met Robert when my babies were young, and sorry, Bob, he offered an adult school class in opera, and I just fell in love with it, mesmerized his teaching. We broke down an opera every class. I just loved it. I'm sorry, I always talk about how much I loved it.
You can, well, gee, maybe I could hear that too much.
No, it was just, I learned so much about, the thing that struck me most was how we discussed how contemporaries of each other borrowed off of each other. And then you played pieces and, you could hear certain things. And you probably don't remember this because it was something I did, but I noticed a comparison. I can't remember. I mean, if I really thought about it, I can remember it was in Beethoven something. And you said, wow, I never heard that. And I felt like, wow.
I would love for you to do that again, Bob.
Well, I would love to as well. I mean, I'm who knows what the world's going to be like. I mean, it's why we're all exploring different ways of being able to connect, different ways to perform, all kinds of different things. Good morning, Patricia.
Hello there.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Good morning.
Hi.
It's actually pretty amazing, the technology that we're all able to connect in this way.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to figure it out.
But it's not that difficult, correct?
I had help.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for doing
Good morning.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. I apologize. I have to keep checking the waiting room to see when somebody pulls in. Jude, Margaret, you've muted yourself. Jude, you've muted yourself.
Oh, do you want me to mute myself, Bob?
No, not at all. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
my plan is that I'm going to show play some music, a little bit from our archives. And I'm going to talk about what the orchestra has planned, how we're coping with the situation, how we're coping with moving forward, what plans we have for the future. It was mentioned about this wonderful thing that the Metropolitan Opera did where everybody participated from a distance. We're hoping to do some of that. We're exploring the possibility of streaming some concerts because we do our festival every August. We haven't canceled it yet, but I don't know when. I mean, by August, it could be, hey, Alan.
There we are. Okay.
Yeah,
Good morning.
see you, Alan. It
Hi.
could be in August that we can get together in groups of 8 or 9, or maybe in groups of 20, but we might not be able to have an audience of 100 or 200. So we're looking at different venues and different ways that we can still do a concert and stream it to audiences. Just all kinds of, there's all kinds of possibilities.
Yeah.
So now that
That
we're
would be
almost all
excellent.
here, there
It
should
would
be
definitely bring some
one or
cheer, that's for
two-
darn sure.
2 more.
It would definitely
still-
bring some cheer in
still to
August.
come. Alan, you're muted. If you want to be, that's fine, but you don't have to be. So officially, I want to thank you. This is the first time we've tried this. What we're hoping to do is do this maybe monthly, maybe more, if there's enough demand, ways to talk. What we're thinking of doing is doing this in such a way that we can maybe bring a guest artist. We work with a lot of living composers. We work with a lot of international artists. So we're thinking that maybe at some point in the future, I could do a meeting where we all get together, and I bring a guest and we talk about what we've done. Bring musicians from the orchestra, bring board members. In fact, on even today already, we have some important people that, well, you're all important. Everybody's important, of course. But I would like to start this by introducing some of the people who are associated with the orchestra, in addition to myself and the work that I do. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Bob.
Good morning. Good to see you.
I got my
I'd like to
coffee.
introduce you to the president of the Baroque Orchestra of New Jersey Board of Directors, Joanne Bates.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome.
Good morning. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Welcome to our first Zoom session. This is really exciting. I feel like I'm a pioneer going out into space right now. There's so much to learn and so
You're
many
not alone.
possibilities. I obviously want to welcome you. I'm so excited that you decided to be with us for our first session. And I would also like to ask you a favor. I would like for you, if you would be agreeable to that, to be a part of our focus group and contact me via baroqueorchestra@aol.com, the email that you use to connect with me to start with, and let me know what your ideas are, where you'd like to see this go. What would make it exciting for you?
That'd be a great honor. Thank you. I
Oh,
said that would be a great honor. Thank you.
well, good. We're really, because you're our patrons, you're our audience, you're our family, so we want you included and we want to work for you in that sense.
Uh-oh.
That's interesting.
That's a FaceTime call, I
I
think.
swear, I don't get a
Don't
call
take it.
for 6 weeks. Probably my piano delivery. So I'm gonna mute myself and see if they call back. We're at our weekend house and my daughter really misses playing. So I should have sent you the link, Bob, to hear you have play. It was a used Yamaha upright for our weekend house. But anyway.
Well, next time. Or soon. Anything else, Joanne?
No, I think that's about it, Bob. I'm just throw in anything that comes to mind as we're moving along.
Okay, and for those of you who are not familiar with the workings of the orchestra, I'd like to introduce you also to Doug Anderson, who is on the board of directors. He's an archivist extraordinaire. Anytime I have a question about the history of the orchestra, Doug has an answer. So I'd like to say hi to Doug Anderson.
Hello, everybody. I'm the key.
Hi, Doug.
Hi,
Good
Doug.
morning, Doug.
Any little thing I can do to keep Bob happy and informed.
And also on the board of directors and one of the leading cellists in the orchestra, Evan Ardell.
Hi.
Hi, Evan.
Hi,
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you everyone for coming aboard. We have about 15 people on the call, and yeah, Bob and I've known each other, I'd say 5 or more years. First meeting on LinkedIn because of our common interest in history and music, and then that has since evolved into a great friendship, and I truly miss playing with the orchestra. So anyway,
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Evan. I'm going to introduce some other people too. But first, because it is about the orchestra and a way of sharing the orchestra, I've been digging into the archives. Just for your information, I call this Bach, Bagels, and Bob. The only constant is Bob. You're welcome to have bagels. You're welcome to have anything you want for breakfast. And each time I do this, we'll focus on either a guest artist or a different composer. But Bach, Bagels, and Bob just seem to have that alliterative title feel to it. So
Well, it definitely
it's not
fits.
like-
Just no toccata, please. It's overplayed.
It's not like every time it's going to be Bach, but today it's Bach. So I want to dig into our archives. I will apologize a little bit ahead of time. Zoom itself is also learning a lot, and the feedback that I've given to Zoom, one of the problems and issues that Zoom does have is the transmission of video. So if the audio should be okay, but if the video kind of goes into slow motion for a minute, or it instead of being smooth, it's a little jerky in its motion. That's the fact that we're all learning, including the technology people. So let me do that and share with you, and let's play a little bit of Badinnerie, which is a dance, and it's by Johann Sebastian Bach. So there's a little bit of the Baroque Orchestra playing Bach. The next
Amazing.
person I'd like to introduce to you that is kind enough to be here today is another member of the orchestra, a musician who has been playing with us for a while, that I've worked closely with in her work for an Italian composer named Marco Frisina, and I'd like to say welcome to Lee Doswell.
Hi, everybody.
Lee.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome. Good morning.
Anything you'd like to add, or?
Well, I was just coincidentally yesterday, I happened to be listening to a podcast via WQXR with 4 major conductors around the world. Alan Gilbert, who used the former New York Philharmonic conductor, Sir Simon Rattle, and 2 others. 3 of the 4 are associated with orchestras in Europe that are called radio or broadcast orchestras. It's very prevalent in Europe. They started, many, many years ago, and they're funded by radio broadcasts. So I can talk a little bit later, but one thing they were saying is their orchestras are well positioned because they already have the technology built in, because their view is that distance performance is going to be, it'll be a long time before we're ever back in a hall with a full audience in it and a full orchestra. So they were talking too at the very highest level of what can be done for the future. And actually Alan Gilbert has, with his orchestra in Hamburg, I guess with wherever they are in the pandemic, they have done 1 or 2 broadcasts with a limit of 15 musicians on stage at huge distances. The conductor with a huge distance, no audience. And he talked about how it was odd, it was uncomfortable, but it was wonderful to be making live music, but it was hard to get the sense of, when you're in live music, you have that connection with the audience, the breathing, so you don't really get that, but it is one way. So it seemed from some of these particular artists that they think that's where the world's going to be for the near term, whether that's a few months or more than that.
Yeah, I have a feeling too, which is why I think it's important to be trying all these different
How to keep
things
connected and
and all.
make music.
And I'd also like to introduce you all to a collaborator that we've worked with many times. Very, very important to the orchestra. In fact, I think one of these sessions I just want to have him as a special guest. But I'd like to introduce you to Jude Pfister. Jude is in charge of a lot of the programming at Washington's headquarters museum. I met Jude about 15 years ago already. Boy, does time go fast. I'd like to introduce you to Jude because the orchestra has done so much in collaboration with the National Park. So Jude, do you want to say a couple of things? Hello?
Well, yes, good morning, and
Good morning.
thank you for hosting this, Bob. I think collaboration has always been an important part of what we've been trying to do over the last decade at Morristown National Historical Park. And I think looking to the future, as we all seem to be doing at the moment, and trying to read the tea leaves, as it were, I agree that this type of event, this type of outreach is going to not only be necessary, but I think collaboration will be even more necessary, because very few single groups or organizations can do something like this and pull it off on their own. It really requires teamwork. And again, working with Bob over the last 10 years, we've really put together some unique programs, to say the least. And I think our track record is going to inform the next year, but even perhaps even out 3 to 5 years. So again, thank you for doing this, and it's just all we're all trying to figure this out and captain the ship in a collaborative way, so to speak.
I'll put my 2 cents in too, that certainly too, this type of event enables the, to maintain the partnership for however long that, is necessary. And certainly, as Jude said, the experiences have been so very joyful with the collaboration of VONJ and the park, for sure.
Thank you, Miriam. Just for those who aren't aware of it, I've told this story many times, so many of you have heard it, how I met Jude. Imagine this. I awoke one morning it was around 2006, I guess. Yeah. And I got an email from Jude, and it said, "You don't know me," and I didn't. I've got a 1693 manuscript of an opera by Alessandro Scarlatti. Would you be interested in looking at it? And of course, I think I stared at my computer for about 10 minutes thinking, this has got to be a joke, because nobody finds a 300 and some year old manuscript of a complete opera by a major composer. But my curiosity said, I got to check it out. And I did. And sure enough, at Morristown National Historical Park is a 1693 manuscript of an opera by Alessandro Scarlatti, which in collaboration between the park and the orchestra, we are the first ones ever, since 1693, to perform this particular outstanding work. So, and at some point I'll bring some excerpts from that as well. What a thrill, what an incredible thrill that was. I'd like to play just a little bit more Bach, and then we'll talk some more. But this is a piece from a keyboard concerto, and I'm only going to play, like I said, about 2 or 3 minutes of it, and go back to our archives and back to Bach. do want to introduce one more person. Started as a student of mine, has become a colleague, a friend, and a colleague, and is a composer. And I just recently did a course at Drew University on female, mostly concentrating on women composers. Actually, what the course was, it was called Beyond the Canon. And what I did was I looked at music history, not through the famous composers like Monteverdi and Bach and Handel and Mozart, but through the eyes and ears of women, Jewish, Black, Hispanic composers. And so we gained an appreciation for the fact that there were lots of women composers throughout history, and there are numbers of them successful today. So I want to introduce you to Margaret Schaeffer. Thank you for joining us, Margaret.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice
Good
to
morning,
see
nice
so
to meet
many
you.
people I know, and also see lots of people whose faces I recognize, but names I don't know yet. So it's nice to be here. Yeah, the class we just had was really, really interesting. Studying, composers of sort of forgotten genders, ethnicities, whatever, all through music history. Really interesting. Bob, I hope we can continue to do some more formats like this. Looking forward to collaborating with you some more. And nice to see everybody.
And at one of these sessions, I'm hoping to invite Margaret and some other female composers I know to talk about being a living female composer. And we premiered one of Margaret's works at First Night a year ago. And so she's really a wonderful, wonderful composer and musician. I also introduced her because she's helping me and the orchestra with another project. I mentioned how we are exploring the possibility of doing something like what the Metropolitan Opera did, what we saw recently Channel 13 did, a number of the bigger orchestras, the bigger budget groups, who ask the musicians to record things separately, and then somebody puts it all together. Well, I thought that was a great idea, and it would be something pretty easy to put together. And I quickly learned that it's not so easy to put together at all. Even though everybody played with a metronome marking, which tells the tempo, so it was the metronome marking of quarter note equals 80, you'd be amazed how many variations of quarter note equals 80 there can be. So trying to sync it all together has proven a little bit difficult, but it's something that we want to work on. And it's also we work with a group called Keys to Success. And it's another one of our collaborations. Keys to Success was started by a friend, Jihun Kripsa. And the goal of Keys to Success is to bring piano instruction to kids in the inner city in grades kindergarten through 5th grade, kids who have no access to instruction, no access to piano. And what Jihun has done is, through donations and all, has gotten, and working with 2 of the schools in Newark, she has created a room where the kids can come in 3 days a week when somebody from her group is there and practice piano. The fact that it's almost all electric pianos means that they're playing with headphones, which means you can get 5 or 8 kids come in and practice together. Her students, some of her kids played last June at the orchestra concert. Before we performed George Gershwin's incredible piano concerto. And before that, her kids played, and we had an introduction to who they were. And Jihun had the idea that this time, instead of the kids playing and say, hey, look, we have these kids playing and look at what they're doing, maybe I could compose something, a piece of music, in which the piano parts could be simple enough for the kids to play, and orchestra parts that are challenging enough that the orchestra would find it interesting. And we would bring these kids and with their families coming. I mean, many of their families came to this concert. It was the first time they had ever been to a concert of any kind, anywhere, but especially an orchestra concert. So it's an opportunity to bring the music to a lot of people. And so they were going to play with us April 19th, which obviously didn't happen. When will it happen? We have no idea. But Jihun and I decided maybe I'd ask some musicians to record their part, and she would ask her kids to record some of their parts, and then I would put it all together in a final product. And Margaret was kind enough to help play one of the parts. So what I want to do is, and again, it's video and it's through Zoom, so the motions will be a little bit jerky rather than smooth. But to give you an idea of just what we're trying to do, I managed to put together 24 seconds. And what it features from the orchestra, a violinist, oboe, Margaret on the saxophone, violist, cellist, and some of the kids. So I'm going to play. We only have 24 seconds of it, but it gives you an idea of one of the projects that we are working on.
Wow.
That's good.
That's
So
great.
for us, it's an exciting opportunity. I think for the musicians in the orchestra, it's a chance to work, to actually do something, to play, to come together. But the biggest difference it makes is to these kids. They're not like, well, this is a bunch of kids, and yeah, they're playing piano, and yeah, they're part of it. But in fact, actually, you're the first ones who have seen this. Jihoon sent me the piano, the kids playing this morning. So I literally edited this about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago. So it's brand new, but I showed it to Jihoon, and she said, when the kids see this, first of all, she guarantees two things. The kids that have recorded, they will be knocking down the doors to go back and play some more. And the kids who didn't do it will be that much more eager to learn. And the program is making a huge difference. We've spoken to some of the parents of these kids, and I remember one parent was telling me that it's tough. They live in what we call the projects in Newark, and since Jihoon started this 2 or 3 years ago, her son comes home from school, and her mother says, "You want to go out? And some of his friends come over and say, 'Hey, you want to go hang out with us?' And he says, 'No, I got to go to school and practice piano.'" So it's making a big difference in a lot of these kids.
We could use more of that. I would agree.
Yeah, I think it's
amazing.
It's a beautiful thing. And I remember when I first went to visit, which I guess was about a year ago now. I went to Newark to meet these kids. They are so wonderful. They're so excited. They're so innocent. I guess I would use that word. They're just, and they were, Jihoon showed them a couple of videos of me conducting first, so they knew who I was when I walked in the room. And I don't think I've ever felt the kind of, I don't know what the word is, adulation is what I wanted more to say, but that's not exactly it. The acceptance, the thrill. These kids were like, wow, a real conductor has come to an inner city school, my school in Newark, to visit us. And it's amazing how what to me is a little thing is such a big thing and can make such a huge difference. And what a huge difference we can make through music, through our art, and through everything we do.
I'd like to throw in an observation, if I could now. I was privileged enough to sit up in the balcony after the kids had played. And I think everybody's first reaction is, oh my gosh, they're kids. They're going to be squirming around. They're not going to be paying attention. They'll be on the phone. These kids were mesmerized. They did not move. They did not take their eyes off the orchestra. It was one of the most amazing things I think I've ever seen. And then when the concert was over, because these kids also, in addition to not being able to access orchestra concerts, we're at the College of St. Elizabeth's. We've got a very bucolic setting. These kids went outside and were running around, and they were so happy to be in the country. So that was a whole nother level of experience for them. And it just made the whole day very, very special.
So
It sounds like
a
there's
lot in the works, a lot of plans. Like I said, we're hoping to do something in August. It might not be the summer festival as we've done it in the past, where you can come, but I'm guessing that by August I should be able to do something with a small ensemble. If not, what we're thinking of doing is streaming performances from people's houses. I know one of our violinists has been willing to do a half-hour stream of just solo violin music. Piano, of course, is always a possibility. Stanley Alexandrovich will maybe do a half-hour stream concert on solo guitar. So we're working on many, many possibilities to keep going, bringing the music to everybody. I thank you, Colleen. And we're also doing stuff. Most of you know me from my lectures and classes. And I was supposed to teach a course on Beethoven this spring at Parsippany Library. It, of course, got canceled, but they asked me if I would make a 5 or 6 minute little video talking about Beethoven and saying, and we will pick this back up in the fall. Well, those of you who know me know I can't shut up. So my 5, 6 minute video became a 20-minute video, which will be on the.
We both got that problem.
But it's also led me to think, well, maybe that's another thing we can do is we can make some videos like with Margaret. Maybe. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Goodbye, Alan. Nice to meet you.
Maybe make a video where Margaret and I talk about the act of composing, and we include her piece. So that's another thing we're working on doing. We're working on more collaborative efforts. We're working on reaching out to composers. I'm hoping to make this a regular, at least maybe monthly, if not more often, type of event. And one of the nice things about it is one of the negatives is we're not in the same place. We're not together. We can't actually hug each other or shake hands or any of that kind of stuff. But at the same point, we can all get together no matter where we are. Ray, where are you?
I am in Grand Rapids, Ohio.
So I'm thinking I have a lot of friends, international friends and colleagues composers, musicians who work in Italy. Maybe I can invite some of my friends from Venice to come in and meet everybody. So I think that instead of looking at it as a limitation, I think there's an opportunity to grow, for all of us to reach out to each other and stay connected, but do even more. So now I've talked a lot. So I'll open it up. Anybody have any questions or comments or anything?
Bob?
I have something to say.
Go right ahead.
Whoever wants me to go first.
Go ahead. I'll be next.
Okay.
Okay. My name's Ray Gomez. I met Bob in kind of the weirdest way. I was taking voice lessons with a friend of his. And the first time I met Bob, the one thing that always sticks in my mind is how comfortable he made me, because I was a young tenor. I didn't really know much about classical music. I didn't even come from that background. And when I met him, it was an amazing experience. There was like before Bob and after. And the one thing I like about Bob is that he was able to really just simply direct me, conduct me, to say it, in such a way that I would really want to try harder and do things that I couldn't even do. And then I got the honor of performing for him when he was at a theater at the Baroque Orchestra of Bhutan at the time. And it was an incredible experience for somebody who came from a working class background, who knew nothing about classical music, who couldn't even read music. And I couldn't. And I got that night, and that was awesome. I sang a piece that wasn't even really for a tenor. And ever since then, you know, I really had put it on hold for many years, and then finally decided to try to make a comeback, which I'm doing very well with. But it's nice to know that we can all connect with each other and at least, you know, get the experience of knowing Bob, and with me, it's helping me make my comeback and do what I got to do all the way out here in the middle of nowhere.
Thank you, Ray. It's been a pleasure knowing you. That's for sure.
Yes, agreed.
Bob, I was going to ask, and it kind of relates to your collaboration with the national parks. What about an outdoor concert? Where I don't know if logistically that and technologically that's more difficult, but that's something that I was thinking could be, maybe this summer.
Well, that is a possibility, and I think that is something that we could work on. I need to talk with Brian Ferran is our recording engineer. He's our tech person, and I know he has some equipment, because the hard part about an outdoor concert is the sound doesn't carry.
Right.
So we would have to amplify it in some way. I mean, even the Boston Symphony has speakers at Tanglewood. So, but I think it is a really good idea and a good possibility. I know we work with a tenor named Gary Pate. Gary sings at the Metropolitan Opera in the chorus, and he is looking into the possibility of doing an outdoor concert on Lake Apacon.
Oh, wow.
So it would be set up in such a way that people could come by car and walk, or they can bring their boat right up to the dock and see the concert. So yes, I think that there are definitely lots of possibilities.
I'd love to hear the acoustics there.
In our town, in Montville, they have, they do the contemporary outdoor concerts with singers and bands and stuff, but the area where the orchestra is, or the performing people, is undercover. And then again, it's one of those where you park near the library and then you walk up to the, or there is a parking area. But it's kind of a nice venue. It's relatively new, I would say, in the last 10 years. And they do have big sound, they are capable of having sound systems. So,
well, if you get me a name of a contact person, I'll be happy to talk to them.
And okay, I will try to ask Pam, whom you know, at the Montville Library, and see if she knows who would be in, or even someone with the town.
Okay, great. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Bob, I have a question. How available is the what is it, the amphitheater? Isn't it at St. Elizabeth's? Don't they have that theater?
Well, that is available.
I'm sorry?
That is available. We could also check into that.
Oh, that would even be better.
I don't have any explanation as to why I haven't. So.
Right. Yeah. Because I know the Shakespeare Theater of New Jersey, I think, does. We've never been to see one of their performances there, but I think they do one in the summer.
Yeah, I think the thing is thinking outside the box. I think sometimes we get into a tunnel vision. I think sometimes okay, well, CSE, we play at Dolan Hall. So if you talk CSE, we got to play at Dolan Hall because that's where we always play. So I don't think about other possibilities.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to add?
Well, I just want to say that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, you first.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, tenor. I am not anywhere nearly as musically talented as all of you. I'd like to say that we're well-rounded, which means we do a little bit of everything. And as it would so happen, my son went to the Winston School for middle school, and I still am active in the school, even though he's long gone from there. And the headmaster is Dr. Peter Lewis, who is also, I don't know what, is he a tenor? I don't know what he sings. Yeah. And you know how you can go to these school events and win things? So I won. My husband says, is that really a prize? Meaning, you pay for, anyway, so it goes to a good cause. But he came here, and we have a weekend house in by Pittstown, which is by Clinton. My regular house is in Maplewood. And we hosted him and his wife. I sent you an email, Bob. I think you were busy.
Yes.
But it was just a tremendous performance of all operas and duets and whatnot. The weekend house, we have a pretty nice sized property here, a lot of land. I mean, I'd always be willing, I don't know how kind of group that you're thinking of, and I don't know how you were just saying that outdoors is not great. It is windy, but
there's all kinds of, right now we're talking all possibilities.
Right, so that's always an option. And particularly if you have friends from other countries, we have some extra bedrooms and that kind of thing.
Sounds ideal to me. Maybe I'll get one of the leading opera singers to come out and
Wouldn't that be beautiful?
pay you a visit.
It would be beautiful. Plenty of space out in the country.
I want to thank everybody. I want to play one more excerpt and just a little bit more Bach. Very little, probably the most famous piece of instrumental music, the Brandenburg Concerto.
Bravo.
Excellent. Love it. Love it.
Bob, Bob, I would just like to say thank you. I don't have any of the expertise these other folks have. I'm a listener.
Well, that's the most important part. Without listeners, we'll still make music, but
I met you at the Chatham Library when you were lecturing, and I don't think I've missed a concert since. And for someone like myself, not able to travel too far, having you perform locally has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
thank you. I so greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate seeing everybody. This 45-minute session went by, for me, incredibly fast.
Yep.
I hope that maybe sometime in a few weeks, we'll try this again. I'll bring on some other special guest artists, and
I would love to.
Great, and spread the word about how wonderful we are, how wonderful this.
I've been doing that.
Because the only way that any of this grows is through word of mouth. And I think that.
Bob, can I just ask one question?
Yes.
How do you figure out acoustics of an outdoor area?
I'm not the one to ask. Maybe I'll bring Brian on sometime, and he would be the one to ask, because
That would be great.
And frankly, I don't understand acoustics at all. Like, for example, when we play our concerts at Grace Church, and we play our concerts at the Dolan Hall at the College of St. Elizabeth. Grace Church absolutely adores string players. I can take say 12 or 14 string players, and it'll sound like the New York Philharmonic because of the acoustics.
Yes.
Wind players and brass sound good, but boy, it loves the strings. Dolan Hall, it loves the winds and it loves the brass, and the strings are dry. And
wow.
So I need like twice as many to sound half as full. And so acoustics is all a big mystery.
Yeah, that would be great next time if you could do that.
It would, and we look forward to it. I wish you all, I hope you all stay well. I hope you all stay safe and careful. It's been a real pleasure to share this morning with you. I look forward to hopefully doing it again in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
You be careful. I know the parks and all are opening today, so
Yeah.
have a good one. Stay safe.
You too.
Stay
Okay.
well.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you,
Bye
everybody.
bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.